My next guest has devoted her adult life and her career to educating some of Jacksonville's earliest learners, and her classroom work has recently earned her statewide recognition. Here to tell us about it is Kerstin Teutonico. She is a junior kindergarten teacher with the Jewish Community Alliance. Kerstin, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And congratulations. I understand your kids call you Mrs. T. So
They do.
yeah, it's a little easier than Teutonico. But so how does it feel, first of all, to be recognized for your work on this level?
It was completely overwhelming in the best way, but I feel like it's highlighting what we do at our preschool each and every day. Every teacher in our preschool works diligently to build connections with the children and to spark curiosity and to get them to be critical thinkers. I listened in on your previous guest, and AI cannot do what we instill in these children, and it's something that we were missing during the COVID years, where we couldn't make those bonds with the children, and this is what we do each and every day.
What is it that brought you to teaching in the first place?
I always had a love for children, and I noticed that I was able to make connections with them very easily. And to live with children, to really get into their minds, to be in their world, it's just magical. And just to be able to take time with them to figure out what they're trying to investigate is magical.
It is not a skill set that everybody has, and some would say not a lot of people have. It is, first of all, it requires enormous patience, and it is not necessarily something that most people are kind of able to invest that much of themselves in drawing out this younger person who may not be super articulate, who may not be in control of all of their emotions in a lot of ways. So when you have a classroom of new kids to you, what is the first thing that you do to kind of establish a relationship with them?
That is exactly what we do for the first few weeks, if not months. We make sure that we establish a connection with each and every child. We take our time, we talk to them, we just sit down with them and get to know the child, who they are, because everybody brings their own story, and we share our story with them as well. We get down with them. We make bodily contact when a child, like you said, has a breakdown and they are not able to control their emotions just yet. Then we get down with them. We ask them, what can we do to help you? And we breathe with them. We give them hugs to where they can feel us breathing, to be able to really channel their emotions, to calm down, to soothe themselves, which is what we should do with some of the adults that cannot channel their emotions either.
Yeah. You mentioned COVID. Have you seen lasting impacts on the profession of teaching or on just kind of children? And I mean, obviously the kids that you're teaching, many of them practically post-date the pandemic. I mean, they're not necessarily having memories of that because they're
Yes.
pre-kindergarten, a lot of them.
Yes, their social emotional development was very delayed, it seemed like, especially when we had to go to the classroom and the teachers and the children at the time had to wear masks.
Yeah.
Emotions, you can read emotions on the whole face when you only have the eyes to look at. It was really hard to bring across emotions. Teaching phonics, how to pronounce certain words was really, really hard for children to understand because they couldn't see the bottom part of our faces.
Sure. Do you hear from teachers who are teaching older kids that you were teaching during that period? Have they seen that as a lasting deficit in terms of the skills that those kids had?
I spoke to speech pathologists, and they said they've seen an increase in that.
Oh, that's unfortunate. So the work that you do with kids, there's a lot of opportunities with kids at that age to shape them and to open their minds to different ways of thinking and learning. What examples have you seen in your own work of something that you can tell has really opened up an avenue for a kid or allowed them to express something that they might otherwise have struggled with?
What we do at the JCI is we talk to every single child. We try to spark curiosity. We don't tell them the answer when they ask a question. We always bring the question back to them. We try not to view the children as empty vessels where the teacher is just throwing all their knowledge into them. We're trying to pull it out of them. And that is a skill. It's an art that is so inspiring. And I've seen when you have a young child and you see it in their eyes that boom, that light bulb went on and it clicked. They understand what they're trying to investigate. That is magical.
So how has our thinking changed over the last, many years when it comes to best approaches, best practices for teaching kids? Is that something that you've seen in your career evolve in terms of what we know about what works and what doesn't?
Yes, I've always been turned off to strapping children to a chair and making them do worksheets and working on that. And over the years, our approach is that we try to nourish the whole child, their body. Children are not made to sit down unless a child has had something in their hand. They can't comprehend it with their mind. So we have a lot of hands-on experiences. In our school, it has definitely made a change to where we honor the whole child.
Do you have a freedom to kind of operate in a different way than perhaps a more prescribed, public traditional public school is when it's in terms of the metrics that they have to hit or the responsibilities that they have or that they're tasked with?
Yes, we do have the freedom, and that's something I really, really enjoy about my job at the moment. We look at the interests that the child has, and then we weave all of our academics into something that the child really wants to learn about. And that turns the children on to learning as well, and it creates lifelong learners that way. And I appreciate the flexibility that I can bring everything to the classroom that I feel is important as well.
Talk a little bit about teaching just in turbulent times. There's a lot of difficult subjects that come up in the world today. And kids see and experience difficult things in their own lives. But certainly there are, pressures and events that happen. Are those things that you try to address in your classroom? Are they things that you try to leave to parents to handle at home? How do you manage that? Or is it more on a case by case basis?
It's something that comes up frequently. Children always try to use their fingers as guns or create guns with whatever material they have, Legos, whatnot. And in our classroom, we don't tell children they can't do it. They have to ask permission if they're wanting to play bad guy and police. They have to ask permission of the other child if they can play in that way. If the child says no, we need to respect their preference. But if another child is wanting to process and understand what is going on in the world by playing these games, then we let them process through it. And then we come together as a group and we talk about it. And the children come up with their own rules and guidelines of the classroom as well. We call them agreements.
And so, I mean, that's interesting because obviously there's a lot of anxiety around, particularly guns in schools. And there's a lot of rules governing that in a lot of places. But you think it's best not to sort of tamp that down if kids have a natural curiosity or if they're able to sort of explore difficult topics through play.
What they're showing us is they're trying to understand it. They're trying to figure out what is going on, trying to figure out the power relationship of it. And over the years, whenever I was working in different settings where I had to tell the children, you're not allowed to do this kind of play. We don't use guns here. Then the children were like, "Oh no, it's a fire hose. I'm just shooting fire," or "It's a water gun."
Mhm.
They're trying to get around it because there's really something fundamental that they're trying to process, that they're trying to understand. And then we also address how we listen to one another, that people get angry when they don't hear each other. So we started at a very young age to where children learn to listen to others' points of views. And so hopefully that will help guide them in their play as well.
Talk about technology in the classroom. Is it something that you use? Is it something that is permitted? Um, and what is your feeling about its impact on young, very young kids?
In our school, we are very inspired by the Reggio Emilia approach, which is a very natural based, whole body, whole child approach to teaching. We do have certain technologies in the classroom, like an iPad, where the children can document certain things, take pictures, work with technology to look at the tiniest particles of different animals that they're interested in. But the technology in itself, I feel, has no large room in a child's education. The children should be outside working their bodies, being in touch with nature, being in touch with whatever they're trying to understand. And most technology requires you to be stable in one spot and work on it, to where children should work their bodies, work through whatever they're working on. If you don't build the body, you cannot use fine motor skills later on for writing. So
Mhm.
you have to work on that first.
And so, is there anything that you would encourage a young, teacher starting out today, that you've learned in the work that you've done or the success that you've had that you would encourage them to try or to think about or to work towards?
I would like for them to know to slow down. You have been taught a lot of things in school, but slow down. Be with the children, listen to the children, and don't try to be the teacher that is above the children. Just be with them. Be with them and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, kids are lucky to have you, Kerstin Teutonico, at teacher at JCA. Thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for the work that you do.
Thank you.